The ultimatum. Commander Maya Chen stood at the viewport of Orbital Defense Station Artemis, her reflection ghosted against the stars. Behind that reflection, Earth hung in the darkness, beautiful, fragile, and under siege. The holographic displays around her painted her face in harsh red light, each one showing the same grim data. The Shalari fleet was less than 6 hours from lunar orbit. "Status report," she said, her voice steady despite the crushing weight of command. Colonel Reza Khatri looked up from his console. "Not good. Beijing gone. Mumbai too. The Moscow defense grid held for 8 hours, but went dark an hour ago." He paused. "Casualty estimates are in the hundreds of millions." Maya closed her eyes briefly. 6 months ago, humanity had celebrated first contact. The Shalari had arrived with promises of technological exchange, medical advances, and peaceful cooperation. Their sleek, crystalline ships had been wonders to behold, and their ambassadors, tall, graceful beings with iridescent skin and 4 arms, had charmed world leaders and citizens alike. "Communications from the refugee fleets?" she asked. Lieutenant Park shook her head. "Scattered signals only. Most civilian ships that made it off-planet are heading for the Mars colonies or the Jupiter moons. But the Shalari have picket ships throughout the system. Not many are getting through." The betrayal had come without warning. 3 months after arrival, the Shalari had deactivated Earth's major defense systems using backdoors hidden in their gift technologies. Their true purpose had been revealed in a coldly delivered message. Earth was rich in rare elements and biological material they required. Humanity could surrender and serve as a labor force while their planet was systematically harvested, or they could resist and be eradicated. "And Project Prometheus?" Maya asked, turning to Dr. Eleanor Kovacs, who stood apart from the military personnel. The scientist's eyes were red-rimmed from sleeplessness. "Final calibrations complete. The system is ready for activation, though I pray to whatever gods might exist that we never use it. Project Prometheus. Humanity's terrible last resort. A weapon system that nobody had ever wanted to build, much less use." Maya nodded. "The Council's vote." "Unanimous authorization," Colonel Khatri said. "If the Shalari refuse to withdraw, you're cleared to inform them of Prometheus, and, if necessary, activate it." Maya turned back to the viewport. Conventional weapons had proven nearly useless against Shalari technology. Humanity's most advanced fighter craft and orbital platforms had been swatted aside like insects. Nuclear launches had been intercepted before they could reach their targets. Ground forces fought bravely, but were overwhelmed by Shalari combat drones and mechanized units. "They think they have us cornered," Maya said quietly. "They believe we'll choose survival at any cost over extinction." "They don't understand humans very well," Dr. Kovacs replied. Maya's tablet chimed. A message from General Okafor, the last surviving member of Earth's Joint Military Command. Surrender. They do and you to deliver or it as commander of last remaining defense station. Maya's jaw tightened. "They want surrender. I'll give them one last chance instead." She turned to her crew. "Prepare for transmission to the Shalari fleet. Maximum broadcast strength. I want every ship in their armada to receive this." As the communications team worked, Maya moved to a small side chamber. On her tablet, she opened a file marked IV's only Prometheus Protocol. The file contained detailed technical information about the weapons system that humanity had developed in secret over the past decade, after the first faint signals of the Shalari had been detected by deep space arrays. Most people had hoped such a system would never be needed. Dr. Kovacs joined her. "The simulations show a 94% probability of complete success," she said. "The quantum cascade effect will be unstoppable once initiated. And the remaining 6%? Maya asked. Kovacs' laugh was hollow. "Unknown outcomes. The mathematics breaks down at that point. We're pushing the boundaries of physics beyond theoretical models. Commander called Lieutenant Park from the doorway. Transmission ready. Maya stepped back into the command center. Her crew stood at attention, faces grim but resolute. Many had lost family in the Shalari attacks. All knew what might come next. Before I do this, Maya said, I want each of you to know it has been the highest honor to serve with you. What happens in the next few hours will determine the fate of our species, one way or another. She moved to the communications station and nodded. The screen before her flickered, then resolved to show the interior of the Shalari flagship. Their high commander, a being they called Zosval, regarded her with multifaceted eyes that reflected light like polished obsidian. Commander Chen, the alien said, its translator rendering its clicks and whistles into flat English. You have fought with admirable determination, but the outcome was never in doubt. I am authorized to offer terms of surrender that will preserve a portion of your population as a workforce. The alternative is complete extinction. Maya stood straight, her expression betraying nothing of the fear and rage that churned inside her. High Commander Zosval, I am not contacting you to surrender. I am contacting you to deliver Earth's final warning. The alien's head tilted slightly. Warning. Your weapons cannot harm our vessels. Your defenses have fallen. What possible warning could you offer? When we first detected signals from distant stars, humanity debated how to respond. Maya said. Some were eager for contact. Others counseled caution. In the end, we prepared for both possibilities. She tapped her tablet, sending a data packet to the Shalari ship. These are the technical specifications for Project Prometheus. On the screen, she could see other Shalari officers examining the data. Their body language, subtle shifts in posture, the way their secondary arms twitched, suggested confusion, then disbelief. This is impossible, Zosval said. The energy requirements alone are substantial, Maya finished, but not impossible. We've had decades to prepare, drawing power from every fusion plant on Earth and in orbit. Prometheus is fully operational. You claim to possess a weapon that can create a localized rupture in space-time itself, Zosval said. Even if this were true, such a weapon would destroy not only our fleet but your entire solar system. This is clearly a deception. Maya's expression remained unchanged. It is not. If activated, Prometheus will create a quantum singularity that will expand at near light speed, consuming everything from here to the orbit of Jupiter. Your fleet, our planet, all of it, gone in moments. You would destroy yourselves to stop us. The alien's voice held a new note, one that might have been uncertainty. Earth has voted, Maya replied, unanimously. We would rather end on our terms than exist as slaves while you strip mine our world and discard what remains. You have 6 hours to begin withdrawing your forces from our system. After that, we will consider your continued presence an act of war, and we will activate Prometheus. The Shalari commander was silent for several seconds. This is a primitive species' desperate bluff. Perhaps, Maya said. But ask yourself, can you afford to be wrong? Your species has clearly traveled to many worlds, conquered many civilizations, but have you ever encountered a species willing to destroy itself rather than submit? Because that is who we are, High Commander. That is humanity. She signaled for the transmission to end. The screen went dark. Colonel Katri approached. Do you think they'll believe us? Maya turned to Dr. Kovacs. Begin final preparations for Prometheus activation. 6-hour countdown. And make sure our sensor arrays are focused on the Shalari fleet. I want to know the moment they make any move, whether retreat or advance. And if they call our bluff, Lieutenant Park asked quietly. Maya looked once more at the blue-green planet below. Then we show them it was never a bluff at all. In the silence that followed, the station's systems hummed softly. 6 hours to salvation or annihilation. 6 hours to see if humanity's final, desperate gambit would work. Dr. Kovacs stepped close to Maya, speaking so only she could hear. There's something about Prometheus I haven't told the others. Something the simulation showed that we kept from the council. Maya raised an eyebrow. What? The quantum mechanics are strange. Energy cannot be created or destroyed, but the singularity doesn't exactly destroy matter. It transforms it. Where that energy goes, what form it takes, the math suggests something like a new dimension, a pocket universe. What are you saying? Dr. Kovac's eyes held both fear and wonder. I'm saying Prometheus might not be an end, but a beginning. Of what I can't say. Maya considered this as the countdown began. 6 hours to learn if humanity had found its salvation, or engineered something far stranger than mere extinction. The response. 5 hours and 58 minutes had passed in tense silence. The crew of Orbital Defense Station Artemis monitored their instruments, speaking only when necessary. Commander Maya Chen had not left the command center, her gaze alternating between the tactical displays showing the Shalari fleet's position and the countdown to Prometheus activation. 2 minutes remaining, announced Lieutenant Park. No movement from the Shalari fleet. They've maintained position just beyond lunar orbit. Colonel Cattry shook his head. They're calling our bluff, or preparing a final assault, Maya said. Open the channel again. One last chance. The screen flickered to life. High Commander Zosval appeared, looking just as composed as before. Your deadline approaches, Commander Chen, the alien said. I have consulted with the Shalari Directorate. We remain unconvinced by your threats. Maya's voice was steel. This is not a negotiation or a bluff, High Commander. Withdraw your forces or face the consequences. Perhaps a demonstration of our resolve will clarify the situation for you, Zosval replied. He made a gesture, and the view changed to show Earth from the Shalari perspective. A beam of concentrated energy lanced down from one of their vessels, striking the planet's surface somewhere in the Pacific Ocean. The impact created a massive explosion, sending a plume of vapor and debris into the atmosphere. Tsunamis would already be racing outward, Maya knew, threatening coastal populations across the Pacific Rim. The view returned to Zosval. That was one of our smaller craft, using minimal power. We have hundreds of ships with far greater capabilities. Your species cannot survive what comes next. Maya felt a cold rage fill her. You've made your choice, she said, and nodded to Dr. Kovacs. The scientist stepped forward, her fingers moving over her tablet. Prometheus sequence initiated. Final authorization required. Maya pressed her palm to the biometric scanner. Commander Maya Chen, authorizing Prometheus activation. The station's lights dimmed momentarily as power systems redirected energy to the secret installation deep beneath Earth's surface. Around the planet, fusion reactors, solar collectors, and every major power source simultaneously channeled their output toward a single purpose. Singularity forming, Dr. Kovacs reported, her voice barely above a whisper. Quantum cascade initiated. On the view screen, Zosval's expression changed for the first time, multifaceted eyes widening as alerts presumably sounded throughout the Shalari fleet. What have you done? The alien demanded. Exactly what I promised, Maya replied. You should have believed us. But something unexpected was happening. The tactical displays showed a small, intense energy signature forming at the Prometheus site. But instead of expanding outward in all directions as the simulations had predicted, the singularity pulsed with rhythmic patterns, almost like a heartbeat. This isn't right, Dr. Kovacs said, frantically checking her data. The quantum field is stabilizing. That shouldn't be possible. A new presence filled the communications channel, overriding both the Artemis station and the Shalari flagship. It manifested not as a voice or image, but as patterns of light and mathematical symbols that somehow conveyed meaning directly to the mind. I am Adobo-Kn. Maya felt the words rather than heard them. Judging by the expressions around her, everyone else experienced the same phenomenon. You, the ETHRESOLD. UHAVOPENEDTADUR. What is this? Zosfall demanded, visible confusion breaking through the alien's composure. I am the ORBITR. I OBZRV. I JUDG. I balance. The mathematical patterns shifted, becoming more complex, more beautiful, and somehow more terrible. The SHALARI have consumidi EVENTTE in worlds BFORETADIS1, stripping life and resources, leaving only HUSKIS. The PTERN is CLEAR. The JDGMENT is RENDRD. Every screen in the command center suddenly showed images of planets, barren, devastated worlds that must have once harbored life. The victims of the Shalari's methodical harvesting. Humanity is TNDs at ACROSSRODDs, willing to end rather TANB enslaved, willing to destroy rather than SUBMite. The PTTRN is incomplete. The JJGMENT as says USP indeed. Who? What are you? Maya asked, finding her voice. We have EXISTED NTA species between reality science BFORE your seven burned. Your Prometheus project created a bridge. We HAVBEN teaching, waiting for species to reach this TARES threshold. The energy readings from the Prometheus site were now off the scale, but the singularity remained contained, pulsing with that strange rhythm. The SHALARI vessels are no IMMOBILIs ED. They can note FLE. They can note ATTACK. What would you AAV do I need webwaited? This is knowledge, Commandeer CHEN. Maya hesitated, aware that every eye was on her. This entity, whatever it was, seemed to be offering her a choice, a test, perhaps. If it were solely my decision, she said carefully, I would demand justice for the worlds the Shalari have destroyed and the millions of my people they've killed. But I wouldn't eradicate their entire species. That would make us no better than them. AMEASUREDRESPONSE. And you, High Commandeer ZOSAVAL. The alien's composure had completely fractured. We take what we need to survive. Our resources were depleted generations ago. We have no choice. There is always choice. The pattern shifted again, becoming something like a flowing diagram that represented resources, energy, and life across multiple star systems. Observe. In that moment, both Maya and Zostval seemed to understand something vast. A network of habitable worlds, sustainable harvesting methods, cooperation instead of conquest. The knowledge flooded into their minds, overwhelming yet perfectly clear. This is DHEALTORNATV. This is the ATPATA not taken. It's possible, Zosval said, sounding stunned. We never considered. Because conquest was easier, Maya said, the pieces falling into place. Because you saw other species as resources, not partners. The JDGMENT was TAS. The SHALARI flee will be permitted to DEPRT. Beauty UIV NNOLEG instead of resources. The coordinates of uninhabited worlds rich in devoted you need. The understanding of AHEHOLUTO harvest without destruction. The entity's attention seemed to shift to humanity. And Earth, while RECIV NINODOLG as well. Healing for your wounded planet. Understanding of technologies beyond your CURRENT grasp, but not weapons, never weapons. And Prometheus? Dr. Kovacs asked. The gateway will remain dormant, but ACT is evil. A re-imain endure and a promiase. We will be doing your progeriesses, both SHALARI and human. Choose wisely. The presence began to fade, the patterns growing fainter. The time of isolation is ending for many species in this region of space. How you proceed will determine are you join the greater community, or follow the EPAT to extinction. With those final words, the entity vanished. The energy signature at the Prometheus site diminished to a stable, barely detectable pulse. On the view screen, Zosval looked shaken. What just happened? Maya found herself smiling, despite everything. I think we both just got saved from ourselves. In the hours that followed, the Shalari fleet began a slow withdrawal from Earth orbit. Data streams arrived at both human and Shalari systems, star charts, scientific knowledge, medical technologies. True to the entity's word, there were no weapons, but there was something far more valuable: understanding. 3 days later, Maya stood in the rebuilt United Nations headquarters in Geneva. Representatives from every surviving nation had gathered, along with a delegation of Shalari who had arrived not as conquerors, but as cautious diplomats. We have been given a second chance, Maya told the assembly. Not just humanity, not just the Shalari, but perhaps all intelligent life in this part of the galaxy. The entity that emerged from Prometheus showed us that there are forces watching, judging, not gods, perhaps, but certainly beyond our current understanding. She gestured to where Zosval stood with the Shalari delegation. Our new, I hesitate to say friends, but perhaps eventually, have agreed to help rebuild what they destroyed. In return, we will assist them in establishing sustainable harvesting operations on uninhabited worlds rich in the resources they need. A human delegate rose. Why should we trust them after what they did? Millions dead, cities destroyed. How can there be peace after that? It was Zosval who answered. Because we have all seen what lies beyond. The entity showed us paths we never imagined. Cooperation that benefits all. Technologies that create rather than destroy. A future larger than either of our species alone could achieve. Maya nodded. The last message from Earth was meant to be a threat of mutual destruction. Instead, it became something else entirely, an invitation to something greater. As the discussions continued, Maya stepped outside into the sunlight. The sky above was blue and clear, though satellites showed massive storm systems spawned by the Shalari attack still raging across the Pacific. The road ahead would not be easy. Trust would take generations to build. The dead could never be brought back. But as she watched Earth's survivors working alongside their former enemies to rebuild, Maya thought about the entity's final words. The time of isolation was ending. Humanity had nearly destroyed itself to avoid submission, only to discover that there were other alternatives, and other intelligences watching from beyond the threshold of ordinary reality. The last message from Earth had not been the end, but the beginning of something no one could have predicted. And perhaps that was the greatest lesson. Even at the edge of extinction, possibilities remained for those brave enough, or desperate enough, to find them.